Oh, there we go. YouTube, what is up? We are back with another day, and we just finished up some BP and some Operation 80. We went light on the arm today. It is Monday, and we are still sore from last week's max velo testing. Our throwing mechanics are not super efficient if we are sore 4 days after our last throwing session, but we are going to grow and we are going to get better at those. We did some nice and light throws, getting the feel of things, building up the tolerance, and now that we tested, we are actually going to build out a program and work on things rather than just throw our arm into the grave. Then we hit a little BP sesh. Again, we're just working on staying in the ground, working on staying athletic with our sessions right now. A lot of drill work, a lot of field work. I think I catch myself too many times like wanting to get away from fields and wanting to get the live BPs. And there's obviously a time and place for that, but I perform much better with my swing when my feel of the swing is good. And I think a lot of times when I get outdoors, I'm taking outdoor BP the entire time. I lose a lot of feels and I lose a lot of focus on just some of the smaller things. And I really want to ingrain that when we're stuck inside this winter so that they're second nature when we get the live BP, and just understanding and almost periodizing, which is going to be shocking for people, our BP sessions and what we have access to right now, and not trying to rush into the live BP fields. We got hit tracks coming up in probably like 3 weeks. So just going to keep drilling, keep working on things. Tomorrow we're going to hit a max velo day with the bat just to get our baseline marks for the off season and then go from there. Today we got some snatches, some heavy snatches. We got like 6 sets of 1 at 230 pounds. It's going to be aggressive. We got 4 sets of 2 at 290 on the cleans. We got some double broads. We got some standing verticals, and we got some front squats. Like I said, I got a workout notebook here that I've been tracking everything in. And it's honestly, I've been kind of geeking out about it and the process of like just having everything in one spot in one location. What I'm going to do with this notebook is fill it all the way out. And once it's filled out, wherever we're at on YouTube at the time, so let's say we're at 10K followers or at like 9.9K followers, I'm going to give this full notebook away once it's full to one of our 10,000 subscribers on Instagram, and I think that'll be kind of a cool process. But it'll also just be nice to have this training notebook to be able to check back on the drills that we're doing, the throwing work that we're doing, the lifting that we're doing, things that work, things that are feeling good in the moment, where our thought process is with things at the moment. I think a lot of times I lose sight of just some of those smaller unlocks that I get throughout the weeks and throughout the days of trying, whether it's with the bat, whether it's with the snatch. Like I get a good feel and that feel sticks for a couple days, and then I kind of just lose sight of that feel or forget about it. And then I'll find myself again in like a little bit of a skill well, and just having something to draw us back into some of these feels and some of the things that are working for us when we're in one of those skill wells is something that I'm looking forward to. And it's just going to provide us with more data points to where if we're increasing, why are we increasing? Are we taking care of our diet and sleep? And if we're not, what's our stress level like? What's our diet like? What's our sleep like? And I think it'll be kind of a cool little process to really document everything in one spot and be able to come back to. So let's get these double broads. Let's go. All right, so the microphone died without me knowing that it died, and we got it fixed halfway through here, but we just started off with some double broad jumps with the 15-pound ball, working on that double broad jump experiment. This smaller ball was actually jacking me up a little bit. I didn't have as much room to go, and it felt like I was deep tiers jumping the entire time, but we busted out a 17.9 there, going for 18 next week, continue to crank those out. Then we just had approach jumps on the jump mat. We went 31, 32, 32.5, so it was a pretty explosive day on the jump mat, felt good there. Then we had 6 sets of 1 on these snatches. These first 5 sets I did not have recorded on the microphone, but then after this 5th set, got our microphone working again, so that was nice. Sloppy for the first couple sets. Then I really focused on driving up with the traps and being able to get a little bit more vertical, and these last couple reps are really good. Let's get back to it. All right, so my mic has been dead. I don't know for how long, but we got our other microphone. I just looked and the light wasn't on, so hopefully we didn't miss too much. Otherwise, I'll do a voiceover for the start of this workout and be able to talk about everything like that. But first 5 sets, feeling really good. Every set has been an improvement upon the last, which I really like, and the bar is moving at 230 today, which I'm pretty happy with. I was asked the question, would I rather sprint before I jump, or would I rather jump before I lift when I'm setting up a program? And typically when I set up a program, I look to do after the warm-up and after like movement-based stuff to be able to get the athletes primed and ready to go. I try to go most athletic, fastest thing first, and end with the slowest, least athletic thing last. So I like the sprint before I jump, and I like the jump before I lift. I think both things prime you for the next thing. So if you're not sprinting that day, I think the jumps prime you to be a little bit more athletic in your lifts. And if you are sprinting that day, I think the sprints prime you to be a little bit more athletic for your jumps, and it kind of just trickles its way down throughout the workout, and I think it keeps a good energy flow in the workout itself, which is why I enjoy jumping and doing athletic things before I lift anyways. And if I was implementing ollies into the program like I currently am, and with a lot of my online clients, we will go sprint, jump, ollie lift, big lift, hypertrophy work, and that's kind of the flow of our workouts. And if I really want that athlete to feel athletic towards the end, I will also end with something fast. I know I've talked about that in previous videos. So in that setting, it would be sprint, jump, ollie lift, hypertrophy work, and then we'd end with some sort of hops or deep tier work or even isometric work, something that gets the athletes twitching pretty quickly and feeling good before they leave their workout. So that's kind of the setup of the workouts. Fast to slow, athletic to least athletic. And personally, I just think it sets up a good focus for the workout, and it kind of just primes the body to be able to do the next least athletic thing that requires a little bit less skill when you're less fatigued. So let's get the 6 set here, let's go. Oh, sloppiest one of the last couple. Let's get to some cleans. Now we got 4 sets of 295 on the bar. Bar's been moving really good in the warm-up, so hopefully it keeps moving like that and we get some sickening powers out of today. We just warmed up with our front squat, strapped up front rack warm-up that we've been doing. We strap the straps up as tight as possible. We rip those elbows forward, we pick the bar up, and we hold it for 30 seconds, 2 sets of 30 seconds. Really like the feel of it. I've also bumped out my hands just a little bit. I was doing thumbs away from the knurling, and it just feels like my hands are just a little bit too close to be like have an athletic feel. And I don't know if it's just because of this barbell or what, but bumping back that grip just a little bit more makes it feel just a little bit more natural for that front rack, and we're able to power pretty nice. So let's get this 4 sets of 2. Ooh. Ooh. Woo. All right, second set here. Let's rip. Ooh. Ooh. Clean. Bar's a little slippery, but clean. Really like the way the bar is moving right now. I feel explosive, I feel athletic. I've never really had issues with grip on a bar and it feeling like slipping, so I'm not sure if I wore this bar down from just overuse of like these ollies, but it's feeling like it's slipping out of my hand. I might have to invest in some chalk or just switch this barbell out for a different barbell. I kind of use the same barbell every day, but I kind of hate people that talk about like slippery barbells and bad equipment. Like it's like fucking adapt, but it is feeling like it's slipping out of my hands right now, and I don't know what that is. I usually don't have sweaty hands, and like I've never really required chalk, so hopefully it's not like I'm getting weak as fuck with my grip. I don't think it's that. And hopefully it's a barbell issue, but we're probably gonna have to get some chalk and get after it. Let's go. Oh, there we go. Oh, woo, that bar's moving. Before we get this last set, I was asked a question, you gamify much of your training. Is it ever better to have some things non-gamey? I really think the goal of gamification is not even necessarily always movement variability or like exposing the athletes to skill acquisition or anything like that. Those are all benefits of it. But gamification is just a way to draw intent to your training. So anytime that you want intent in your training, whether you're working hypertrophy, whether you're working skill, whether you're working strength, whether you're working jumps, whether you're working ollies, any way that you can gamify it to draw intent, I think you're gonna have a much better training session. And I think most people would be better off looking at how can I draw intent to my workouts first and have that be one of their main principles of programming rather than thinking about exercise selection or even sets and reps right away. And again, like the easiest way to gamify is just continually add more weights until you or your buddy cannot do it anymore. And obviously you run into a lot of problems with that because you can't continually just add on weight, and that can't continually be your game, or that's going to be a game you lose long term, which is why it's so important to change up the way you gamify training. Maybe it's changing up the sets and reps you do and hitting that same weight for more reps. And this is just the most basic way to gamify is sets and reps and weights. Or maybe we get some pieces of equipment and we're tracking velocity on the bar and we're trying to improve velocity. Or maybe you do a little intrinsic feel or like observational lifting where it's like lifting it with the least amount of effort or least amount of strain, and you can compete with your buddies that way. Obviously that's a little bit more subjective, but it's another way you can gamify in situations in which people traditionally aren't thinking about the gamification method. They think about the gamification when it comes to agility and on-field stuff. And then we get to the weight room and they kind of forget about all the ways that you can draw intent and gamify things and make lifting like a video game. And that's why things like as many reps as possible or a lot of Will's density sets are really effective because they're a super easy way to gamify training, to hit more sets, more reps in a smaller amount of time. And it actually gives you a reason to do so rather than just having a sheet of paper in front of your face that is going to pay dividends in 12 weeks. Like, why can't it pay dividends that day and in 12 weeks? And I think if you pay dividends that day and make it interesting that day, you're going to get more out of it in that 12-week program anyways, because you're stacking more blocks, you're getting more sets, you're getting more reps, you're getting higher velocities, you're moving more weight in the weight room. So pretty much everything I'm doing, I'm trying to find a way to gamify. I'm trying to find a way to keep it interesting, trying to find a way to draw intent into my training, whether it's jumps, sprints, or lifting. And really the only time I wanted to do that is if I was really focused on a feel or really focused on a technical piece. And again, you can draw intent into some technical stuff, or some feel-based stuff. But if the goal is to win, the athlete's going to find a way to win and not find a way to focus on what on the thing that you want them to focus on is. I think velocity bar tracking can be a really great example of that, whereas if you don't have an athlete that has good technique, they're just gonna rip the bar up in a totally different technique than the one that you're working on with them to try and get that number up. But that just draws it back into drawing intent into your training and what is your intent. If your intent is feeling, if your intent is technique, then maybe that's not a time that you have a winnable game, unless that winnable game is something based around technique or based around relaxation or based around feel. And it's why a lot of times I'll even take away the sensors when it comes to our athletes, when it comes to sprinting. If I'm finding they're getting a little bit burnt out with the sensor, a little bit burnt out with doing the same thing over and over again, I just let them run and race for like 3 weeks just to get that relaxed feel again and just to enjoy sprinting again without having to force themselves through the meat grinder that can always be trying to beat that old number, especially when you really have an emotional attachment to what that number is, which a lot of times happens in the weight room, which is why, again, it's so important to come up with different gamification ways in training. So I'd say 90% of my training is based around trying to draw intent into training through the gamification method, just because I do think video games and leaderboards and things to win are super motivating for athletes, and not just athletes. I think all humans want to climb and they want to know their place in a hierarchy, whether it's number one or not. Like, I think athletes are really pushing to be the top 1%, but I know a ton of really competitive, in quotations, average Joes that just want to climb the rank from being number 20 in the class to number 10 in the class, and that's super motivational to them as well. And I think it's a super simple way to get a lot of really good intent out of your training. And it turns into the art of coaching. How do you come up with these games? How do you come up with these methods that make training interesting and draw intent into training? So that's my thoughts on the gamification method. Let's get after this. Oof. Ooh. God damn. Every time after the ranch recently, I've sucked. Let's get to some front squats. Now we got 3 sets of 3 here at 345 pounds. Bar's moving pretty good, but the upper back is such a fatigue point on these. It's where I broke on that 435 front squat when I tried for that new PR, and it's where I'm breaking on these too. So you gotta build up that upper back a little bit. Best way to do that is gonna be doing some heavy front-loaded exercises like the front squat here. So let's get after it, let's go. Oof. Oof. Ooh, let's go. Whee. Second set here, let's rip. Oof. Oof. Oh, goddamn, that's getting heavy. Sheesh. I feel like I almost had a seizure. God damn. Third and final set, then we are getting out of here. Gonna go rip a protein shake. I got some hard-boiled eggs in the bag, and then we got some chili at home. Pretty pumped. Gonna go watch some Monday Night Football. It's gonna be a great night. Let's go. Oof. Oof. Oh yeah. Woo. That's a friggin' day. Appreciate you guys watching. Keep chopping wood. Let's go sprint tomorrow.